for a long time, sporadically on and off. So it's not like the first time we've done this.
We used to do it. It used to be in person before, so it was a simpler time back then.
I had to lug a case full of like equipment to it's set up at the shop. Afterwards, we would talk. It was a long, and then I had to upload it. This is all the ancient times when I still have those. I still have the mixer and stuff sitting in my closet. So, hey everyone!
If I can interject, before that, I saw that equipment because I've been going to Heroes World for so long. That was some intricate stuff. You had like a whole like servers and stuff. It just looked like it was hardcore.
It was a time when you had to have all that stuff, and now with streaming and everything, it's way easier. So all that stuff almost obsolete.
Just throw a whole bunch of wires at stuff. If you got stuff at home, Chris, like a cardboard box, just cut a hole in it, shove a whole bunch of wires, and just have them going everywhere. And people be like, "Oh man, this guy's hardcore. He's got some crazy wire shit going on."
I mean, I have a lot of wires right there. Trust me.
Yeah,
I can tell you the mix you have now probably home is way like mine's an ancient, like the dials go back and up. It feels truly like I'm in an episode of Star Wars. So the dials are up and down. So that's the thing. You notice there's someone new here. We're gonna introduce in 1 second, but Rob, I did want to mention that we took Chris around the palatial estate. We wandered the wilderness. He took a ride on the trolley, and we found a note again from Venice while we were wandering my giant palatial estate. I'll ask to the crew. The note said the following: living a life of peace and happiness. Life experience sharpens us. Mind my business. ... If those at home know what that's about, if you can recognize the song, if you know what's going on, please let us know in the comments below. John, I don't know. Vanice is just very cryptic. Chris knows this already. It was written in code, so Chris had to decipher it. Luckily, he had his decoder ring, and we could figure it out. So I appreciate Chris being on our journey and wandering. But those at home,
Chris is like, "What's going on?" But those
I know it's not me.
Yeah. If your computer ever has like a massive crash or whatever, some of the things will default to a random name that's like in your
bullshit
background or something. Anyways, we'll explore the history of that later.
Yeah, so it defaults, and someone will just say Vanice on it. Or why would this happen? Who has this name? Googling on the internet, it's some sort of vigilante known as Vanice. So we just put one and one together. It's like someone is using this rogue account to roam the streets of the GTA, either fighting crime or actually being a ne'er-do-well, like just basically being a criminal. So questions are up. No one knows the true answer, but welcome everyone to the Heroes World Quarantine Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Stupe. With me is two of the regulars and a special guest. First is one of the owners and proprietors of Heroes World, that be Mr. John Ho. Please say hello.
Hey, that's me. What's up, folks?
We are joined
I gotta see the clever shit Rob comes up with when it's his turn now. Let's go. It's
language, John, language. This is child friendly. Our Prince of Mischief, Mr. Variant, let's say 675, Mr. Rob Cadet.
Oh, hey everybody, that's me. What's up? Hey.
It's a pretty good Michael J. Fox.
Those who don't know, that was a sidekick show bit. Yeah. Marty, from basically Back to the Future, and join. I don't know why he'd want to join us on this ridiculous journey that we're on today. He has a YouTube channel of his own. He is doing a lot of things that we'll describe at the end of the podcast. But Chris, say hello to the people at home.
Hello, everyone.
That's a great impression of John. Perfect.
Perfect. That's exactly what I was doing.
Great. You got fantastic. Thank you for joining us today. We are here to talk about the episode of Ms. Marvel that dropped on Wednesday. If you have not seen it, what are you waiting for? Get on it. If you had, join us on our journey. We're going to do a little bit of non-spoiler first to get everyone's thoughts. We're going to get John's various bits out of the way, and we're going to give a rating, and then we're going to talk about spoilers. So that's what's going to transpire. I think we're all a little biased because the person starring in the show is from the area that we are all located. She has done a lot of big ups to the Heroes World store. So please understand that John may be biased. He might give this show like 100.
And she's also a total sweetheart. If you watch any of her interviews and things like that, she is killing it. So I don't know what type of movie you could put her in that would maybe tank her charm, but I that's a tall order, I think.
Yeah. So John's going to be
probably a Tarantino movie, John. That would probably not like, maybe Inglourious Bastards 2. That would probably tank her charm.
Yeah, I could see her in Kill Bill 2 or Kill Bill 3, the last of the Kill Bill ones, because you got to get that one. She could be the daughter of Viper. I don't know. We'll figure it out. All right, John, we're gonna go. Give us quote in quotations. We know the biases out there. We know that you are, part of Big Pharma. Tell us what your thoughts of episode 1 were and are.
Yeah, so episode 1, out of all the new Disney Plus shows, I think this was really a breath of fresh air. So Marvel's been doing a good job. Despite whatever criticisms you might have of their previous shows, they've been trying different genres and trying different things, and I think they've really hit their mark here. So this is kind of it's a cool show that kind of is going to transport you back in time. So this, for me, it kind of transported me back to my Smallville days, when Smallville first came out, and it's showing that teen angst and the high school drama and all that kind of stuff. So I love that this show is just taking me back. So it's been a minute, but I absolutely loved it.
I like how he's like,
why is their head shaking for Smallville? I love Smallville.
No, exactly.
See?
We're laughing because one would say it reminds me of my own high school experience, not Smallville. No. And really, if you're gonna say high school TV show, Chris and I know already the answer is Edgemount, not Smallville. If you're gonna go, you're gonna
Degrassi.
You're gonna go Degrassi, but I don't think Chris and I are that old, so we're gonna let the old man Rob say Degrassi.
I remember Degrassi when it was just called the Kids of Degrassi Street.
And we're not talking about Degrassi Jr. with Drake. So
that's right. No. I'm going full on original Degrassi Junior High with Snake, with all those guys, Joey Jeremiah, Caitlin.
Dude, no one knows what you're talking about.
I'm sure they're all on the YouTube channel. I know there's a lot of Americans who are like, you can watch great Canadian TV on YouTube. I'm like, good on you, because I don't even think Canadians do. Rob, we're going to jump to you because we'll leave our guests at the end. What are your general non-spoiler thoughts of episode 1?
Oh, this reminded me of the Beachcombers back when I was younger. And I was, honestly, I had a smile watching this entire episode. I watched it with my son. He was laughing at some things. I mean, he's 13, so he's kind of just a before this relatable character in terms of age-wise, but it had a very John Hughesian tinge to it. Definitely did not remind me of Smallville. I thought it separated itself from the rest of the MCU shows that we've had before because it felt, I don't know, is it cliche to say comic booky, but it wasn't. It just, the graphics of it all, the almost breaking the fourth wall aspect of things like pushing those boundaries, it felt fresh. I think John said that. It felt fresh. It felt like something that we haven't seen in the MCU. We talked about this with Moon Knight in that there was no preconceived characters beforehand. And so it was a fresh IP in terms of the television show. With this, even though they are referencing events that have happened, it still felt like super new, super fresh from everything we've seen before. So overall, I was thoroughly impressed with the production, with the writing, and with the acting from almost everybody in that show. I thought it was just absolutely fantastic.
Chris, now on to you. What are your thoughts?
So transparent as heck. Last year when they were talking about it, I was like, oh no, I might not like this because it's more of like the teenage sort of, I wouldn't even say Riverdale because Riverdale's a little different than that, but it's like, oh, I might not like this. Mm. Yeah, exactly. But when I watched it, I was pleasantly surprised because there was, you know what? It was kind of like Lizzie McGuire. I don't know, Rob, if that's a little too new for you. It's a little like Lizzie McGuire mixed with Into the Spider-Verse with the animation style, like the change,
100%,
added stuff. And so, as the other two just said, it was just amazing in the way that the new Marvel route is very different with Moon Knight. Even the new Thor with the hues, like the different colors and stuff. Miss Marvel's using a lot of that purple hue. I loved the aesthetics of it. The completely new actors in the show. There's so many people I've never seen before, and just the fact that they kept it genuine to what the comic is like. It's great. I loved it.
Yeah, to your point, Chris, I think the MCU does deviate a bit. I know there are a few people that know her history and are a little upset based on the fact that her origin is different. I think whether it's Shang-Chi and the Iron Rings being changed or just even Spider-Man, like I think generationally each time you adapt. Punisher did not, go to Vietnam. He went to Afghanistan. Things change based on time period. So I think that for this character as well, the bracelet, the bangle that she has is going to be a different origin story. And I think it's more relatable to people at this point in time. And you just have to do it a little differently because, again, that original storyline, I don't think it happened at that standpoint, considering how bad.
They kind of burned the bridge with Inhumans. They kind of didn't put in full effort. Or
Yeah.
It kind of fell flat. So now you can't go back and reference it, right? You got to get rid of it.
Yes, you can because it's a multiverse.
You can try and stitch it together.
There's the whole thing. No, you could say whatever. They never made it canon that was part of our universe. They just said there was a universe where Black Bolt, and for those who know, he's around. So on the dark side of the moon. So that's what's going on.
As a matter of fact, there is no dark side of the moon. If you're a Pink Floyd fan, you would know that. Come on, Stu. It's all dark.
Yes,
you guys are glazed over. Like what? I don't understand.
We understand. We're waiting for you to bring that up. So that's fine. I think we're all chomping the bit to talk about spoilers, but before we get there, John, it's time for you to do the regular mathematical juggernaut exercise gymnastics that you have for us. For those at home, though, a typical scale is between 1 to 10. That's the rating system that we have. Most people abide to that. John, although has timey-wimey powers and sometimes goes above and below, goes to 12 at points, even though 11 is truly the highest.
Stu's criticizing my math, basically. The math sometimes does not add up.
Never adds up sometimes. Never.
I would say never.
As a person who owns a retail store, you would think math skills would be
it's all done by the computer. It's all computer now.
Yes. And fun fact, he names his computer Vision. So it's like, Vision, tell me the mathematical. What's 2 plus 2? And his Vision, Paul Bettany goes 4. And he's like, fantastic. John, what do you rate this out of whatever the John scale is?
Yeah, for expectation wise, what you're expecting from the show, I feel like this is really like, and I'll get into it when we get into the spoilers. I feel like this show is over delivered, so I almost want to give it 11 out of 10. I know I cracked the ceiling with Top Gun already, so I feel like I'm just gonna have to remain there. So yeah, let's go 11 out of 10.
So you're lower than Top Gun.
Yeah,
I don't know. You guys told me Top Gun could only go to 11. Top Gun I wanted to bring to 20. But anyways, that's a whole different topic. So yeah, I would say it over delivered. I would give it.
You can't rate Top Gun, which had a budget of like $170 million, and an hour 40, 2 hours to 40 minutes of Ms. Marvel. It's not a fair fight, Rob. So
I'm just calling out the fallacy of John's math. For me, I give it a 9 out of 10.
9. Interesting. Why? Out of all the Marvel shows that you've rated, this is not the best of episodes of ones that you've seen, Rob? Because 9 seems pretty consistent with a bunch of the other ones that you've rated before.
No, I didn't give any of the Moon Knights 9s. Hawkeye, I gave a couple of episodes. I gave to a 9. So, I think 9 is. I mean, it's not a perfect episode, but it's
What?
I've never given anything a perfect 10. So, except for Stu's hair. That's it.
Look at it. It does look fantastic.
Oh boy. All right, Chris. Don't let these fools dissuade you. What's your score out of 10?
Literally, I was going to say 9 out of 10, and for me, it's because it sucked me in with just even the brown. I'm a brown guy.
What?
And it's very relatable on that end as well.
Really? We don't see
Surprise.
color. We don't see color. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying because it's very relatable to me, and I've watched all the other Marvel shows, and there are a few I wasn't so keen on. There was a few I thought were great, so that's what I give it.
We'll touch upon that because the South Asian/Asian thing is very relatable with the mother of this show, and we'll go into those details momentarily because I think we all know aunties and mothers on both South Asian that are very similar to Kamala's mom. But we'll jump to that. I had a real tough time with this episode. I thought visually, like you all said, it was wonderful. It flared. Usually there's like the mustaching, twirling villain at the end to let me know what's going on. And this one, there wasn't. Like, who's the bad guy? No idea. Like, normally there's like a drop of like, even a nefarious person looking like in the shadows as like she jumps through the windows. Like, oh, someone's like, so my only thing is going, I should know.
It's life, is it not? It's growing up. That's the villain.
Puberty's the villain.
Puberty's the villain. But I would like a mustache twirling villain because, as we all know, Batman is such a good character because his Rose Gallery makes him interesting. There's a reason why Superman's not so fun because his Rose Gallery sucks. So you got to have a bunch of good bad guys to make the good guy elevate, right? So I just sat there going, man, I think performance-wise and everything was great. I just need some sort of direction at Endgame, and I'm just afraid it's going to be like, no bad guy. Here we go. Like the bad guy is what? So
Zuzu, the automated.
Maybe.
Hey, spoilers.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to go with all you folks. I think I'm going to go 9 as well. I wanted to give it much higher. I really do. I think the aesthetics of that teenage and also the Muslim / kind of that whole culture really being highlighted. I don't think it's been, it was subtle at points. It was really well done. So yeah, I'm glad that was there, but we'll go into more details momentarily. So John, throw up the spoiler rigmarole thingamabob.
Do we have this? Oh yes, we have the technology.
It only took us like 150 episodes to get there. So thank you, John, for that. We should have done that a long time ago. So we're gonna go full spoilers. So if you haven't watched it, please watch. If you're listening to us on the Spotify or on iTunes, my apologies. We'll come up with maybe a sound as well. So yeah, John, with your bit, you always give us a list like David Letterman's top 10 of things you liked. So give us your things you liked.
Yeah. So like this show, I feel like that. Why I wanted to give it above 10 is because I feel like this is, those cases where you see, I've been already transported back into school, where you go to school, you hand in your project, and that guy or gal next to you hands in their thing and they overdo it. It comes in a fancy binder. It's got like special artwork. They put like glitter on it and they put it on like special paper. This is what they did. They put in 110% effort into the show. And I feel like it really shows, like with all the creativity, all the camera angles, like there's times where the camera flips upside down and it really kind of brings you into her world. So I think all that type of stuff really makes me feel that people working on this show really care. So these are people who are staying probably after hours to kind of get that little finishing touch on there, or everyone's kind of contributing ideas and everybody is actually genuinely listening. So I think that's why I want to give this show such a high rating, and I think it is really a breath of fresh air, and the execution is really good. But because some people are saying, hey, you know what, they might have thought it was for kids or whatever or something like that. I wanted to come up with my list of the most relatable things that I found in this show, and now some time has passed since I was in high school, so you would think that I wouldn't have as many things to relate to. So let's go.
Thank God Smallville's on streaming, so therefore you can relate to it.
Hey, if anyone is down to do a Smallville rewatch episode by episode, let's go, Chris. Me and you, let's go. Smallville rewatch. I'm gonna dust off my posters from my mom's place, and you guys stay tuned for that. So turn on your notifications. But let's go. So Stu actually already kind of alluded to this earlier. One of the things is mispronunciation of words. I can highly relate to that when she goes subtle or subtle. I'm pretty sure Rob kind of laughed and went, "Hey, that's John right there." So I really like that. I really like. I'm sure maybe I'm not the only one, but a lot of people, if you've done the wave, and the person just kind of keeps walking through you, and you're kind of like, oh, they either didn't see me or there's another person behind me or whatever. I've done that a number of times. The whole aspect of just gym class, I did not have a fun time in gym class, but that, you know, it still makes me laugh to think of that. The next thing is her plan. You know, when she's devising her plan, and all the times have like, oh, 9 o'clock, it's this is gonna happen, and as the plan starts to unfold, everything gets crossed off, and it's all like 10-15 minutes later. So that's like 100%. Like, if I had to, some people have all their schedules put in their Google Calendar, I'd be like altering every single thing, push back 10 minutes, push back 10 minutes. So really funny time. And then the number one thing I really relate to is there's a sequence where she's talking to the guidance counselor, and the whole dreamer aspect where she just kind of zones out. And I'm pretty sure there's evidence during this podcast. You just, something catches your eye and you just kind of go completely off in your own little space. So that's kind of some of the reasons why I just love this character, and I'm glad that this character exists for this new younger generation. So I think this is going to be like this could be the new Spider-Man for the new generation. So I can't speak enough about this show. So I'll let Rob go. So
Rob.
Oh, hey, thanks, John. You know, I think it's important to highlight, first of all, Iman Vellani does a fantastic job in viewing this character. Listen, I didn't read any Ms. Marvel comics, so I'm coming to this fresh. I mean, I'm very aware of the character. I'm aware of the history of it. You know, Marvel had recently done a documentary, I think, or somebody had done a documentary on comics. Maybe it was even Robert Kirkman, and they talked about this character and whatnot. So I saw it, you know, so I'm aware of it. But I'm looking at this as a fresh new character for me, and I was very impressed with her portrayal of the character, but her portrayal of a teenager. Like, she is 19 herself, so she's not far removed from that age group that she's playing. But I was being really earnest and sincere when I said this reminded me very much of John Hughes movies. It had that John Hughes flair to it, because I think, you know, there's been often imitations of John Hughes movies, and they haven't been able to get that feel right, that make you feel like we've all been to high school. We all know what it is like, all the tropes, all the cliches, and it's something to, you know, to transport you back and make you have that feeling, that smell, the sounds, the taste of high school again. John Hughes did it. And you can watch those movies. I'm obviously well removed from high school, yet I can throw on The Breakfast Club or Weird Science or 16 Candles. I can still have that relatability. And I got that once again watching this movie this TV show, because I've been there, I've seen it. I can remember the smells of my locker, watching her walking past and trying to get into her locker. So it takes a special set of individuals to be able to pull that off. And I think that it's done by the writing, by the directing, and then by the star herself. But the second part of this aspect, and not even the superhero part, but is the family aspect of it. And it is very difficult to be able to pull off the telling of a story with strong supporting family characters that make it relatable regardless of what type of a background you come from, right? And there are a few instances where you can really get that aspect and understand. The most recent would be like Crazy Rich Asians, right? Like, the family aspect of watching those individuals interact with each other is relatable across the board. Now, obviously, it doesn't speak to me as much as it would to other individuals of that background, but I can still relate to that. But seeing how strong that those characters are interacting with the main actor, it makes everything so believable. Like, you would almost think that the people who portrayed her mom and dad and brother were actually related to Iman Vellani. Like, that's how synchronous they were in their interactions with each other. Like, it was so fluid. So that's also what really highlights the feel of this show, to make it feel so much more different than everything else we've seen before. I felt like maybe the closest you could say is Aunt May and Peter, but even then, I felt like you're watching two actors perform. And in this, I felt like I was given an opportunity to watch a family interact. Like, I was the guy hanging out in the corner watching a family, you know, because I've been there in, you know, different people's houses, eating their food, watching them interact. So They sometimes didn't know I was there.
From the window.
Right?
I can't get
dark twist of like, this is the, oh no.
Peeking through the windowsill. So, and then you get into like the, her superhero origin story. I've recently been going back and watching a lot of the original Marvel movies, maybe out of boredom or whatever. There's a sense of simplicity to those movies that we don't get nowadays with like Multiverse of Madness. And as much fun as No Way Home was, it's very convoluted in its ideas and its plot lines. There's simplicity of the original Captain America, of Thor, of Iron Man and whatnot, even the first Avengers. And I found that with this, it felt really simplistic, but in a positive way. Like it felt easily consumable. I could step right in and understand it. So all that, said, the Avengers Con, I mean, if you are if you're on Twitter, you would know that's Ryan Penagos, who is like the marketing guy. He was the MC for Avengers Con. So it was kind of a cool little cameo from him. And it was just kind of fun to see that. It was fun to watch it all unfold. And it was fun to watch. Essentially what is a relatable childhood or teenagehood for almost anybody through the eyes of this character. So it was really
I have gripes against Avengers Con, Rob. If this was a truly adventure con, they would have a booth full of mystery boxes.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that was the one thing you could tell COVID times, right? Because it was a pretty small, for the first Avengers Con, there was maybe 48 people there.
I'm just saying, typically
it was exclusive. They had a VIP line, probably.
Yeah. Typically at this conventions, there's the booth full of mouse pads that are questionable. There's the mystery box one. There's a booth full of
t-shirts. The giant cube of t-shirts. Yeah.
Cubes of t-shirts. There's got to be the cosplay of all the plastic swords for cosplaying that you need, and then next to it's the real swords, samurai swords that are questionable. How are they even here? But yeah, that's my gripe about Avengers Con. I didn't see enough, duplicate swag shops available. But that's
shady merchandise. You didn't see enough shady merchandise.
100% shady merchandise. Everything there seems so wholesome. I'm like, wait a second, you can't go to a con and get this wholesome stuff. I'm like, I need. Where's the shady stuff from AliExpress they're selling for 3 times the cost? So, anyways, Chris, give us your thoughts.
Okay, so something that was amazing about this show in the first episode was it was post OG Avengers life. Like you seeing their merchandise, their fans. There's everything these guys went through, like the men and women, like Captain America, Scarlet Witch, all of them, Iron Man. They're kicking butt, dying, all these things happening just for these the new society to kind of just make popcorn bags out of it and t-shirts. So you're kind of seeing, oh, that's what happens after a war. This is what happens. And Stu, something you said, you were saying there was no twirling mustache villains and whatnot. I think this story, the conflict, is about identity crisis based on my second watch through. There's little tidbits, such as when she was doing the driving test and it was her parents' car and the music came on. It was a cultural song and she turned it off. That was just the first hint of embarrassment towards her own self. Then there was the whole thing with the guidance counselor where there was that disconnect. They cut it in half. So it's a disconnect between her wanting to be someone else and not owning her own culture, not owning who she is as a person. And I think that's what they're going to truly dive into. And I think that's amazing because we haven't seen that, right? It is usually some sort of villain and it's okay, we know where this is going.
I hope so too. To your point, we did get a mid-credit scene of 2 agents from Damage Control, but Damage Control, as we all know, is the Department of Damage Control is the low end FBI. They're just there to clean stuff up. They're not really they're kind of, I guess you could say, they're rent-a-cops. They're not really FBI. They're not SHIELD. They're not the real badasses. These are just people there just to clean up whatever broke down that Thor knocked down from a wall. So I just kind of hope that there was an actual proper villain. But to your point, I guess we have more episodes to go. But yeah, I would like there to be
there probably will be a villain, but I don't think that's going to be the primary part of the show. Outside of that, I think again the animation. So just from the beginning, that intro, that I just watched it. I was like, I could never do that. That just looks like it's so much work. And then they also had that second part where they're cycling down the street, and then the walls were showing iterations of Captain Marvel, which was freaking cool.
Super creative.
Yeah. Those things were just amazing because we don't really see that in Marvel shows. So that's like a fresh take on it. And then going back to what I was saying when I was rating it with the South Asian or the brown family. And you're right, Stu, it goes across like immigrant families in general. They're pretty similar in ways. For me myself, when Kamala was trying to convince her parents that she should go and why she should go, I've distinctly remembered doing those sorts of things when I'm like, oh, can I go to this thing? And I think of different reasons in high school why I should go, and I prepare it like a presentation. And that hit home really quick to me. It was cool that they put that in. It was I think I feared as the show was coming closer to release that they were going to stereotype it a lot. But I did see other comments online where people were like, oh, this has happened to me. I remember this in my own house. And it was very genuine. Even the mom at the end, when Kamala comes home, she sneaks in and she's just sitting there. I thought that was a great scene. Like, that was a very emotional scene.
No punishment even dished out. Just the kind of like the look of disappointment and kind of like lecturing her. Like it was intense.
I think the one thing to your point is, I think all four of us are a little different because we identify as men, and I do know the counterparts for us, the women of South Asian descent, have some stories of like this where they're asking permission to go to like a school dance, or like the bare minimum, like I want to go to a movie on a Friday night, and we're just told no, like you can't, like we don't trust exactly what this, we don't trust you, we don't touch anyone else. So like the struggle between that, I think, us as have a different struggle, so it does probably hit home. I think to your point, for the South Asian thing, like for sure we've all been in the situation, we go to our auntie's house and the whole food thing, like here's the food, and you're like, oh, I don't need it. It's like you just take the endless amount of Tupperware that's stowed away. Like my wife also has Tupperware stored away. I feel like when we get older too, people come over, it's like, here, just take all this food with you. That's generally a cultural thing for us as Asians, that we just have the propensity to be giving and sharing always. Like no matter if we have little, we'll give it away to someone regardless of their background. And that showed true to Kamala's best friend, who the family embraces and likes, and even though he is not clearly of their Pakistani background, they still treat him very fairly and with the same Bruno, right? That's
Bruno.
Yeah, Bruno.
But you know what's interesting about this, Stu, is that piggybacking off what Chris said, and then you're diving into Bruno, is that it was interesting. I grew up, and I had friends of different nationalities, and I never understood when I said, hey, we're heading out, and they said, oh, my parents won't let me I have a curfew. I'm like, oh, what? Now I'm not representative.
What's that?
I'm not representative of every white person that grew up in the GTA or outside of the Toronto, but for the most part, if you ever saw movies or TV shows and a Caucasian said to their parents, hey, I want to go out, they're like, well, you gotta be home by 12. Like 12, I'll be home by 1. I was like, that's not fair. And they would take off anyways. Like it was, like, okay, whatever. And then so growing up, people telling me, oh, I have to have curfew. I can't. I have to be home by 9. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, you're 17 years old.
Yeah.
Now, I bring that up because when you're watching this, like it then fills in those like memory gaps for me, where I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't understand that because I couldn't relate to that.
Yeah.
But Bruno represented like the typical white guy where he was like, wait, you have to do what? You have to ask for, like, it was just, now I know if whatever reason he doesn't have a family, they were saying, but his relatability to me,
he's like living in a swag apartment on top of the thing.
Yeah, I know. How is he affording that? As the white friend, he was like, what are you talking about? What do you mean you have these rules? Like, it was just very different. So I was kind of glad that they actually told that story, because for people like me, I was like, oh, that shit actually happened. I had no idea.
To be fair, this is also the first like 3 stand-up specials from a certain Canadian Indian comedian. So this is all Russell Peters.
That's what I thought about. That's what I thought.
Half his career, all this stuff, like be a man, like all that stuff, like that's for Russ. Like I think a lot of the thing too relatable with the father too, because I think that if you are siblings, even if you're not of that ethnicity. Like you found that if you were the elder sibling, like even that example at the table, he's like, you're praying too much, you follow the rules. And then when he's talking to Kamala, it's like, oh, baby girl, do whatever you want. Like there is that sub rule of like, you're the eldest, the rules are firm, and when you're the baby, don't worry about it. You do whatever you want. So there's still that duality of like siblings that we all can recognize when you have a sibling and you're the elder or the young one. There is always kind of a weird differential between what you can get away with as the baby, because usually it's everything, and that when you're the first one, you were battling for all to get anything that you wanted to be done. So, and then the other thing too that I found was like really just masterfully done was, the parents are not super bad people, and they're like, you can go, you just have to be like, we have to go with you. So like the compromise was like, we're gonna bring you an escort, and the father dressing up as the Hulk, and
the mom was the greatest costume on the planet. That was amazing.
I just sat there going, how are you doing this? Like, this is Pakistani, like Uri, like branded Hulk clothing, like overnight. Like, man, you know how to sew like quickly. So like little Hulk, big Hulk, and the father dressed up. Like that's where like the heart was really like, man, that's the thing. Like fathers and mothers will do anything for their children within reason, and even if that means them being ridiculously like I'm sure the father didn't want to dress like the Hulk, but he would do it for Kamala. So that's the other thing too, to show this family does genuinely care. They're not just like, the rules are the rules and we don't trust you. It's like, no, we will, but at the same time is, you have to be escorted. It felt very much like Bridgerton. Like who is the escort that's going to go with you on this mission? So it was quite nice to see that.
I want to see Kamala's dad go up against Tobias Funke from Arrested Development as the Blue Man. I think that they both have the beard. They're both dressed in paint. I want to see that battle. That's what I'm.
And they both pretty much never nude, so it probably worked out as well. So that's the thing. Before we go on, John, episode 1 is complete. You have high hopes, as the song goes. High hope. We're this is building towards a movie. We all 4 of us know this is the precursor, the amuse bouche, as you would say, to the movie. Where is this going to go, John? Give us your wildest thought process. Like is Ms. Marvel going to meet her hero in this series at the end? Is it going to fly by? Or is it going to wait to the movie? Like, is it going to be it? Like, is it going to be?
I think they're going to save it. I think she's not going to connect with Brie Larson till the movie hits. I think I like Chris's idea. If this is like there's no real villain, it's just her struggling with identity and growing up as a teenager. I hope it stays in that spot. I actually quite like that spot. I actually stated that I would watch, even if she didn't get the powers or anything, I would just watch the show just because this cast is amazing and how imaginative they're filming and stuff like that. If this was just some type of teen drama, even though I'm not in the demographic, I'd be like, hey, I'll watch this. They're so charming. So yeah, I think they're going to save the big cameos for the movie. So she's just going to get to a certain point, maybe comfortable with her powers and identity at the end of this, and then they'll launch into the movie.
All right, Rob, your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking about it at the end of the show, and I was like, I wonder if they're going, because we know she next is going to be seen in the Marvels, and I'm like, well, I didn't think they'd tie in Brie Larson. Maybe is it Monica Rambeau?
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Maybe Monica Rambeau coming in from WandaVision to tie it to be that bridge. The only thing I'm a bit concerned about is that obviously Captain Marvel and then Monica Rambeau, their powers are now ingrained within their body, whereas so far from what we've seen, Kamala Khan is based on a bracelet, which means it can be removed. So I'm kind of hoping that they address it in some capacity or some fashion, because I don't want that. I know it sounds.
Yeah, I feel like that will be resolved, Rob. Don't you worry. I feel like that bracelet's gonna break and it's gonna just fix her powers in perpetuity. Like it feels, based on the way that it looks like Terrigen mist kind of going over her, kind of the way it's set up in it. So I feel like it's gonna fix this problem, because you're right, Rob. You just can't have it just. It's a lot too much like Shang-Chi. So you got to change it up.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see where it goes. I'm excited for where it goes. I kind of liken this a little bit to like what I was with Hawkeye. I didn't know where it was going to go. I couldn't forecast it. And for that reason, I'm super excited to see what the next episode. What is it? Is there 8 on this one?
I thought there were 6.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Chris, what are your thoughts? What do you think?
Well, since we brought up the bracelet and is her powers inherent or not, I mean, they talked about her grandmother being a part of this whole thing too. And then where did she go when that stuff went all around her? Where did she go for that split second? You know?
Yeah. She flips and you see all these glowing eyes and stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
So I mean, because of that, I don't know where it's going to go, but I do feel like because in Shang-Chi, Captain Marvel was at the end, they probably won't do a repeat and do that again. I don't think it'll be Monica Rambeau either. I feel like they might do someone like random that we're not thinking about right now. They might have someone else from the Avengers, you know, like whoever the Avengers are now, come up and say, hey, we need you for something, or I need to introduce you. I don't know. That's what I think. It's been like that a lot of the time, right?
I think you're right. They alluded in the vehicle when they're driving. It's like, my mother was like you head in the clouds. So, and then we know from all the Marvel history that, you know, the people that have these powers is genetically prepositioned. So is that saying that her great grandmother was a Kree or an alien? So there may be something that, genetically speaking, the bracelet only works for people in that family line. It would also explain how the mother was able to produce food in baggies in about 10 seconds to go there and pack food and just give it out to Bruno within, you know, the quick 10 seconds. But yeah, I think you're onto something. And then the other thing too about the eyes, we could jump straight to Mephisto. We could jump straight to the, you know,
get the Mephisto out of here.
We could also jump to, you know, the various the ancient you know, the realms from Black Panther and all the other things. I think to your point, Chris, you mentioned it already, is that it could be just, you know, her envisioning the eyes of her peers judging her, because they do a lot of subtle things about, you know, body image stuff in this show too, about, you know, not revealing too much and her slightly just saying, like maybe this is too revealing, and she puts the sash on. There's a few things about body empowerment that is very well done in the show, like just sprinkled in without saying, you know, hey, I don't look like, she already said, I don't look like, you know, everyone else. I'm a brown girl from New Jersey. So there is something to that. Yeah, we'll see. Like the ancestral planes, right? That's what it is for Black Panther. John, last question before we wrap up. Clearly, there are tickets available to New Asgard. If you had the chance to go to New Asgard on a cruise ship, would that be your first destination on a trip, or would you go somewhere else? Because clearly they were at the Avengers Con, like things for trips to go to New Asgard, and then clearly
when you show up to New Asgard, is that giant hammer gonna like slam into you?
No.
Like, what's the purpose of that thing?
And then the trailers for Thor 4, there's like cruise ships there, so like it's a destination. So would you, if you had a chance to go there, would you go there, or would you go somewhere else on the planet? Because there's a lot of places cool in the Marvel universe, like you could go to. Or would you?
I feel like so much bad stuff happened associated with those, with all of the Asgard and all that kind of like one of the places got blown up, and Korg was like, yeah, it's still good. Oh no, now you got to rebuild, right? So I feel like I would avoid anything that is actually that'd be like, hey, do you want to have a visit to like Avengers Tower or Stark? Tony Stark's mansion got blown to Kingdom Come, so I feel like I'm going to avoid any of those areas that could be targeted by a supervillain. So I would probably go to, you know, what's Shang-Chi's sister's Fight Club. I'd probably check that out. That was very stylish.
Right. Okay. Rob, would you go? Is that news? If you could go anywhere around the world right now, would it be New Asgard #1?
No. Listen, I got a 13-year-old, I got a 10-year-old daughter. If I'm going anywhere, I'm going to a beach. I'm sleeping and drinking a bunch of pina coladas. I don't give a shit.
That could all be at New Asgard. I don't think you've been.
No, I don't want to drink mead. I don't want to be. I don't want to have, like, you know, goats for dinner, breakfast, and lunch. I want to be left alone, bro. I don't want to. I just want to lie and be left alone. I don't even want my wife to come with me. I just need to be alone. And so I don't need Asgardians flying around on a Pegasus and all that bullshit.
Chris?
Contrary to the other two, I would love to stay in New Asgard. It looks mad chill. I know you have to do a bit of work, but it's pretty quiet, pretty. It's not a city. I can't handle the city too much.
Too much armor, Chris. Is all you hear is clinkety clinkety clink, and everybody's walking around. How does one relax?
That is dope.
I mean, having kids in WD-40 and just spraying it on people as they're walking by.
Chris knows that he's surrounded by people that are all stronger than him. So if the things go, he's fine. He doesn't have to worry about anything. I think it's a good choice. And last,
people in Ragnarok did it.
that was different Asgard. This one's in what?
It's in Norway.
It's Norway. So you're fine. Norway in the summertime is beautiful. John, last question. We found out in this episode that there's a podcast that happens with Scott Lang. Is there a podcast from an Avenger that you want to hear? Like, if you could listen to an Avengers podcast from any member, is Scott Lang the first one? Because clearly he's giving the first-hand account to what happened in the battle. So out of the people that participated in that epic battle, is there a podcast that you want to listen to that would do a dramatic retelling of their story?
It depends if the Ant-Man podcast has that Lewis character on it, like he's gonna tell like the best recaps of everything that they want to talk about.
I assume he would be there. Yes, I assume he'd be there.
Yeah.
So.
He's really, and then you know what, Captain America, because he's just going to talk about like old 50s stuff and all that thing. Like I don't know who you would. I think Ant-Man is your best option to host a podcast. You know, you Rob wants Hawkeye talking about how he's too old.
I want Hawkeye and Kate Bishop, and I want her to like just nut him by whispering. He'd be like, "Huh? What?" Because he can't hear. That's what I want.
Oh no, you know who you want. You want Yelena then. You want Yelena and Kate Bishop.
She wasn't there.
That's the podcast.
She wasn't there.
No?
She wasn't there. How should you? I'm asking.
Knows? Maybe she was.
I have to squint real hard to see. Chris, we're gonna leave you with the final one. Who do you want to listen to on the podcast?
Hey,
on their podcast.
If Odin was still there, you know, this guy has millions of years of stories I would love to hear. And just for SHITs, Groot. Imagine Groot doing a podcast. That'd be great.
That's the best answer. Yeah, it's like 40 minutes of I am Groot.
Yeah, 40 minutes of I am Groot.
Yeah, Groot. Grooties. You'd have to learn it.
Yeah, you have to learn Groot. Yeah, that would be quite an exercise. All right, well, that finished off with a bang. All right, John, where can they find you on the internet in the desert of the real?
Yeah, so if you're not following us, the social medias, our Facebook and Instagram get updated the most. So Heroes World Online, you can find all the latest updates for the show in the store. Everything's there. And if you're in the desert of the real, as Andre likes to say, we're on 8601 Warden Avenue in Markham, Ontario. Come check us out. We got tons and tons of stuff in stock at the store, along with tons and tons of Miss Marvel comics. So if Iman really wanted to just get other people into comics, she's succeeded. Look at this. Chris got a copy of Miss Marvel Volume 1 right there. And yeah, we've been selling a lot of copies of that. So if that was her goal to just spread the fandom, that's mission accomplished. Thank you, everybody, for always sharing. And thank you to Iman for shouting us out. That's very kind of her. This is her time to shine. And she is super duper sweet girl. So I wish her all the best. And I hope that this leads to whatever project she wants to do in the future.
Yeah. Like, subscribe, all those things, and shout outs to Andre, who's become too famous for this show as he's all over the place. So we tried to get Andre back. He said, "I'm busy. Talk to my agent." Rob, his agent
Hollywood
said,
Andre
are lowbrow. My client, how much money are you going to pay me and Andre? I said I can't pay. So Rob said, he'll get back to you. So
I was like the Flash. I was like nickel penny. That's all I got. And he was like, "I'm out." So like, me and John Jenny Valley Rao are gonna go hang out and discuss shit. And I'm like, come on, man.
So he's way too famous for this podcast, looking for his own spinoff, the Andre G Chronicles, and we'll listen to your podcast there. Rob, what's going on the Sidekick show this week?
Well, we on Monday night, 8:15 live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. This guy right next to me, the Sad Titan, hasn't seen Avengers Infinity War more than once. So we are going to go back. He wants to go back and check it out and to see what all the hype is about, because
let's see what the hype is about.
He's like, "What is Infinity? What? I don't understand." So You can currently check out Infinity Warriors on Disney Plus. Although I would imagine if you're watching this, listening to it, you likely have a copy. So definitely rewatch it.
Not IMAX version if you have Disney Plus.
Yes,
Right.
enhanced IMAX version now.
Enhanced IMAX.
Yeah. So definitely rewatch the movie if you haven't seen it in a while, and then join John and I as we discuss it. That's live Monday night, 8:15 p.m. on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch.
There's a big chat room, so you can hang out with the people there and from the peanut gallery, if you will, and make some chirp at both of them. So I recommend having a chance to go and give your thoughts. They will respond live and in person. Chris, to you, where can people find you on the World Wide Web?
You can find me on Instagram and on YouTube under Christoverse.
What can we find on Christoverse for those who are uninitiated?
Well, Christoverse, I post a lot of comedy skits and stuff, so I haven't updated that in a while, but I'm going to be doing that very soon. I have new videos. I'm also an actor, so I'm doing that on the side as well. So,
what projects? Tell it. What you got coming up?
I'm on a show, but I can't say what show. And yeah, things are happening. So
cool.
It's awesome.
So to keep watch is what you're saying.
What he's saying is that he may disappear to Vancouver for a while, and we won't know.
Why Vancouver? Toronto has a lot of stuff, eh?
Yeah, but you're not a somebody until you actually make it on either Stargate TV show or Afterglow. I think that's the because they've been on TV.
Oh, 2002. Yeah, hang on. Stu's in the middle of
Stargate. You know what it is? It's kind of like back in the day when you made it on Law and Order in New York. You're like an actor, like, oh, I want to be. Everyone got that one bit on Law and Order where they were that person that was not guilty but points to the next person. You know, it's like, oh, were you? No, it's not me. Did you look at that guy at the dock? And then you look at, you're like, oh my god, wait, is that? And then you just sit there going, this actor is way out of their league. Why are they doing in this episode of Law and Order? Anyways, yeah, so check Chris out. Thanks for joining us today. Hopefully we'll see you again soon so we can talk more. Thank you all for joining us today, and peace out. Thank you, everyone. See you. Be safe.
Yes, thank you for joining us, Chris. Thank you, Stu.